In today's session of Divorce Court, Kathy and James got to know each other well during their 3 years of dating, and when they got married, she felt they were a perfect match. But when James bought a motorcycle, she says the relationship began to crumble.
It destroyed my marriage, and I was in love.
It did not.
He went from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde with that biker stuff. As soon as he got that bike, he woo.
And when he joined a motorcycle club, she says the marriage was over.
It was just a bunch of hairy, overgrown men scratching and drinking in a bar room at night.
She was always invited. Members of the club were always calling her up.
Oh, please.
Now James has a new wife by his side.
You want to talk about encounters?
No, we don't want to talk about
encounters.
You don't want to get me in this.
Today, Kathy Russian and James Russian face off in divorce court.
All rise. Court is now in session. Mablean Ephraim presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is the matter of James Russian versus Kathy Russian. I understand that the two of you are already divorced, yes, but there are some remaining issues to be resolved. What are the remaining issues, Ms. Russian?
Well, at one point, I loaned my darling, sweet husband $1,500 to buy a motorcycle that he wanted, and what I got back was the biker from hell, and I got proof.
You got the biker from hell? You have proof of the biker from hell or proof of the loan?
Yeah, he's right here.
Oh, you're the biker from hell. And what's so bad about being a biker?
Nothing except neglecting your family and your wife, your children.
That's not true, Your Honor. I've never neglected my
father.
family. Never.
How did things change?
Well, I loaned him the money for the motorcycle, and what I thought was going to be a weekend pleasure bike turned out to be his whole life. He joined a biker club, and away he went.
So the bike replaced you?
Yeah, basically. No, he got something else to replace me.
What replaced you, other than the bike?
His present wife.
Oh, so that's why you want your $1,500 back?
Yes.
The bike and the wife replaced you?
Excuse me?
The bike and another woman replaced you?
That's right.
Just dumped you all together?
Well, I guess you could say that.
What happened, Mr. Russian? She buys you a bike and you become a changed man?
No, ma'am. The job that I was given at the hospital required me to drive down there all different kinds of hours, and it was tearing the motorcycle up. So
you had a motorcycle at marriage?
At the start of the marriage, yes, ma'am. And I traded that first motorcycle to my ex-brother-in-law for his truck, so that my wife could have the use of the car for the children.
Oh no! As soon as I got my settlement, you had to borrow the money. You walked around and whined and nagged and nagged and nagged for that money until you got it.
Well, what settlement was this?
It was an accident I was injured in before we were ever married. And the settlement took several years. And when it came in, that's when he started begging me and nagging me for a loan. And I loved him, and I wanted to give him the loan because I wanted him to have what he wanted. But I didn't know he was going to dress all in black with beads hanging off of him and greasy and all that.
So that's what happened. He wasn't a weekend motorcycle. He joined the motorcycle club.
Yeah, and he said the club says, well, the rules of the club are family first, then the club, and then your job or whatever. Well, the family came last.
No, ma'am.
So do you think it was the motorcycle, just getting a motorcycle that made him change?
I think it was midlife crisis hit him.
Oh,
no, ma'am.
Midlife crisis.
I was not going through a midlife crisis. I need to try to set the record straight on this. There's a time frame when you're getting to be known by the members of the motorcycle club. You're invited to different functions.
Initiation, you know.
To POW MIA flag raisings.
A bunch of big overgrown frat boys, you know.
So this is his hobby and apparently it's not yours?
No, my hobby was just cooking and cleaning and tending to my daddy. He was dying of brain cancer.
But now you said that the family was left behind and he neglected his family for motorcycles. How did he do that? What happened?
He was always gone on a motorcycle and always out.
Men have to know you in all different circumstances. And they have to see how your family is going to react.
And it required you to be out late at night?
Sometimes it did, yes, ma'am, but it was my wife's total backing.
Well, why do you have to be out late at night because you joined the motorcycle club if there's such a family-oriented club?
We are. We have family get-togethers every weekend.
Well, you weren't maybe it was another family, that you weren't part of it.
Yeah, it must have been. Must have been the other woman's
no,
family.
No, ma'am.
But I'm not understanding. If it's the motorcycle club was interested in family and was family-oriented,
yes, ma'am,
then why is your wife feeling so left out? Well, your
I have
ex-wife,
no idea.
why was she feeling so left out?
I have no idea.
Did you take her around the motorcycle club?
Yes, ma'am. I tried to. She was always invited. Members of the club were always calling her up. And the ladies, you know how ladies talk.
So the ladies were calling her and inviting her?
Yes, ma'am. The ladies were calling her, inviting her.
Only one wife, and she was the wife that was the one that started trailing one of these other biker groupies that was going around trying to sleep with all the husbands of the club.
Well, Ms. Russian,
that's the only woman I ever met.
Ms. Russian, it sounds like to me that you have a preconceived notion, or you just had a bad taste in your mouth about what a motorcycle club is. Did you not?
No, I don't think I had a bad taste in my mouth about it at all. I think they put one in my mouth, though. I'll tell you what.
Did you ever go to the motorcycle club with him?
I tried being involved with him with this club, but it was just a bunch of hairy, overgrown men scratching and drinking in a bar room at night.
Ooh, so that's why you didn't fit in too well, because you have an attitude that they're a bunch of hairy old men scratching and drinking.
That's what they were.
So was he calling you a bunch of names like you're calling him, a bunch of hairy old men scratching and drinking?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes,
no,
indeed.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm thunder thighs, okay?
No.
I'm
You're what?
thunder thighs. I weigh too much. That's what my husband told me.
You're thunder thighs and you weigh too much.
I'm thunder thighs and I weigh too much. I weighed 115 pounds. It's after our son was born.
Did you call her thunder thighs?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What did you call her? Because the court papers say that you got rather verbally abusive. What did you call her?
No, ma'am. She is the mother of my son, my family's namesake.
That's right.
I
Why
have
don't
total
you ever come
respect
Be quiet, Ms.
for
Russian.
her.
Let me hear from him.
I have total respect for her as a mother and as the mother of our son.
But your differences just grew in terms of your lifestyles.
Our differences grew in my purpose. Prior to the conception of our son, I was in the Merchant Marine. I used to make a lot of money. I used to be gone 3-4 months.
And when you was gone 3 or 4 months in the Merchant Marine, she didn't complain?
No, ma'am. And then I saw my son growing in spurts, and I talked to Kathy about that, and I told her that I couldn't leave anymore. I wanted to be around. I wanted to become a part and watch this miracle of birth and growth.
So you
She said,
changed
okay,
jobs.
and I came back to southern Louisiana and got a job locally.
So you could be at home with your
Yes, ma'am.
son and your wife.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And you could watch this specimen grow.
And her other 2 sons from 2 different encounters.
Is that right, Miss Russian?
Encounters. You want to talk about encounters? There's
No,
a
we don't
close
want to talk
encounter
about
sitting right over
encounters.
there.
You don't want to get me in this.
No, and you don't want to get in it until I ask you to get in it.
Excuse me, I apologize.
Yeah, you're right. She doesn't want to get you in it, and you don't want to get in it until I ask you in it.
When divorce court returns, Kathy testifies about the real reason she left James.
Did you put him out for cheating, or did you put him out because he was riding his motorcycle too much?
All the above.
If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. Divorce Court is back in the case of Kathy Russian, who divorced her husband James because she says he'd rather spend time on his motorcycle than with her.
Now, did he take a second job, a different job, so he could be with the family?
Yes, he took a local job.
And you have 2 other children that are not his?
That's right.
And he was helping you take care of those children?
They have their own income from support sources.
But he didn't contribute anything. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, he contributed, you know,
Well,
towards
give the man credit when it's due.
Well, I sure will.
Don't be that evil and upset with him because he's a biker and you're not. When did you get this motorcycle?
1992
When did you get him a motorcycle?
December. I have the paper right here.
Let me see it. You gave him a loan when you got your settlement. But I'm trying to find out how long into the marriage, how many years of marriage was that?
6 months before the end, Your Honor.
That's right.
Before he got the motorcycle?
6 months before the
So
end.
you're really only
From
talking
88 to
about
92.
So you're really talking about 6 months?
Roughly.
We separated May 93.
Okay, and you bought this motorcycle. According to this,
It was around
according to
Christmas
this,
time.
both of us can't talk.
I'm sorry.
All of us can't talk.
Yes, ma'am.
This says that he promised to give you $2,000 from his lawsuit,
Right.
which is still pending.
That I'm still waiting on.
Okay, so he had a lawsuit pending.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
suppose so.
And you were going to repay her $2,000?
Yes, ma'am.
From the $1,500 that she loaned you from her settlement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. But this is November 14th, 1992.
Right.
You separated in 93.
Yeah.
The way you're trying to make this sound is for 5 years, this man was running up and down the street on a motorcycle, not taking care of his family.
When he got the bike. It was right after he got the bike in December, all that started. He went crazy spending money on that black leather and...
you just have a problem with bikers and groups. You just think that they're terrible people. That's what the problem is.
Because he went from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde with that biker stuff. He went overboard.
He got off into a hobby that he liked.
Yeah, got off into it, all right.
Did you find him with somebody else? Is that what you think?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
no, ma'am, I
you think that he was off riding around, riding into the sunset with another woman every time he was gone?
Well, he was.
You weren't there. You didn't see him. You don't know what he was doing.
I did too, because when we initially moved apart, I moved out the house, he moved out the house. He moved into a house right behind a bar. And when I went to bring our son for visitation one day, she comes walking out of there, tells me and my sister, God rest her soul, my sister died last October, tells us that she loves him and she'll do anything she needs to do to get him.
This is now your current wife, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start the relationship?
About 4 or 5 months after I was politely told that my wife and family were leaving me.
So let me ask you.
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
already divorced.
4 or 5 months after? I don't think so.
Yes, ma'am.
And that even
Yes,
doesn't
ma'am.
include the other one you cheated on behind my back before I even
Well, let me
left.
ask you this,
No,
Miss
ma'am.
Russian. Did you put him out for cheating, or did you put him out because he was riding his motorcycle too much?
All the above. He was doing both.
So you want this $1,500 back because he's with another woman?
No, ma'am. I want it back because that's my money. I made it to, gave him a loan. He promised to pay it back, and as usual, he didn't keep his word.
Honor,
So now, what is your position on this? You think you owe her this money?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Why not?
I do not. I have written her checks out of my private account, sent her money,
Since
that
separation?
has not been since the separation. Yes,
Where's
ma'am.
the proof?
I have one letter.
Miss Russian?
When we separated, the truck, motorcycle on
No,
my side,
all I
the
want to
car.
know is you said that you have written her checks from your private
ma'am.
account since
Yes, ma'am, I
separation.
have.
How
Since
many
then.
checks?
I would say totaling of around $3,000 to $4,000.
Oh, please.
And
What proof do you have that you've given her $2,000 to $3,000 since separation?
the only thing that we had in our custody.
Would you be
last May?
I'm not talking about child support, and I hope you're not telling me child support.
No, ma'am. I have written her checks out that I do not have in my custody.
Non-child support checks?
Non-child support checks that on the bottom, for memo, it said, pay back on loan $2,000 minus the amount of the check.
You agree that he gave you checks that said minus the loan, but it was three
Down
of them.
at the bottom.
For
Yes, ma'am.
$100 each.
No, ma'am.
$300.
What'd you say they were?
I would say what I have given her since she separated from me.
Not child support.
Not child support.
Nothing.
Well, you said $300. Now be quiet. I'm talking to him.
Easily $1,200.
But
that
you
I
don't
can
have any
remember.
proof.
No, ma'am, not with me. No, ma'am.
All right.
That's because he's a con man.
No, ma'am, I am not.
As soon as he got that bike, he woo. Away
That bike
he went.
is really in your throat.
It destroyed my marriage, and I was in love.
It did not. It did
I don't
not.
think the bike destroyed your marriage. I think something else destroyed your marriage, and I'll take a break and tell you later.
When divorce court returns, James' new wife gives her side of the story.
He paid her over $900.
She's flat lying.
And an update on the case of Valerie Brandon versus Ron Brandon.
She thinks I was cheating on her by looking at a
At
magazine.
the time, it was very devastating.
She
I
was
know
cheating
it
on me
sounds
with the real thing.
Divorce Court will be back in session in a moment. Divorce Court is back and the verdict is in the case of Kathy Russian, who says her husband James' motorcycle is more important to him than she is.
We're back in the matter of James Russian versus Kathy Russian. And Mr. Russian, I'm sorry, I noticed that you did have a witness in court, and I'm advised that it's your wife, Janet Russian.
Yes, ma'am.
Can she shed any light on how much money you've paid on this loan?
She can shed some light on how many checks and how often I have written them to her on repaying this loan. Yes, ma'am, she can.
So she can tell me about the payments for the loan, not child support.
Yes, ma'am, she sure
And
can.
I'm sorry I neglected to call her. Ms. Russian, would you come forth, please? What can you tell me about payments on the loan? That's all I want to talk about.
James took a job with one of the casino boats in Louisiana, and he was bringing home in between $3,500 and $4,000 a month. And in a 2-month period, just on that job, he paid her over $900.
She's flat lying.
You are flat lying. I don't know what that means.
That means completely.
I'm used to it, and I'm a lot of other things too. But
okay, basically, a lie.
That's your opinion.
I'm not opening this up for argument between you and Miss Russian. Obviously, there's bad blood there, but you will get it out somewhere else. All I want to know is, what do you say the total amount of money he's paid her on these checks that you can tell me?
I'd say
on the loan.
I'd say he's completely paid the loan.
You say he's paid it in full.
And then some.
And then some.
She had car problems at times. We gave her cash money to go get her car out of the shop.
I didn't ask you about getting her car out of the shop. That's a gift.
No, ma'am, that wasn't a gift.
If he gave her money to get the car out of the shop, and that's what she called and asking for money for, and that's what he sent, he gave her money to get the car out of the shop. I said payment on the loan. Now, you're saying he paid that and then some because you're adding all of that other stuff, just like Mr. Russian was doing. Okay, I'm finished with that. Thank you. The problem, Mr. Russian, is if you were giving your ex-wife, Kathy Russian, money every time she called you and asked you for something?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't doubt that you may have done that.
Yes, ma'am.
It happens all the time. You should have said, consider this as against the loan.
Yes, ma'am.
But if you gave her money to fix her car, then you gave her money to fix her car. You didn't have to. You did it out of the goodness of your heart. And if Miss Russian were that kind of person, she could credit you for that. But I don't get the impression that she wants to give you credit for any of that.
Credit goes where credit's due, and he's not due any.
And that's what I mean.
Your Honor.
Nope.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, because I've heard the numbers on the loan itself.
Yes, ma'am.
See, that's what I have to focus on. You have a contract that says I'll pay you back $2,000 for the loan. Now, technically, you said that I'll pay you back $2,000 for the loan from the proceeds from my lawsuit. He didn't tell you he'd pay it any other way except from the lawsuit. He didn't get any money from the lawsuit. It's an impossibility because the lawsuit didn't settle. He didn't get any money, so therefore he can't pay you from that.
He's had other lawsuits.
I didn't ask you to talk.
Okay.
But by his own admission, he said, I owe you at least $800. You said you've paid about $1,200.
Yes, ma'am, I believe that's about right.
So the court's order is, by your admission, that you owe her at least $800, and it was a loan, and the reason it's not community property is because it was a lawsuit from a personal injury. It was settlement proceeds from that she loaned you to buy the motorcycle.
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, it would be community property. I'm going to order you to pay her $800 as the balance due on this loan for the motorcycle. That's the order of the court.
Okay. Thank you.
When divorce court returns, an update on the case of Valerie Brandon versus Ron Brandon.
As long as he had his remote and the TV and a couch, he was fine.
Closed captioning for divorce court provided by. If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. And now for an update on a previous case in divorce court. Valerie said that for over 20 years of marriage, she and Ron fought over money, sex, and careers. Finally, she had an affair, and the marriage was over.
As long as he had his remote and the TV and a couch, he was fine. He would always go in there and hide away and look at girly magazines and do whatever men do.
No, she thinks I was cheating on her by looking at a magazine.
At the time, it was very devastating.
She was cheating on me with the real thing.
Valerie didn't take anything with her when she left. but then brought Ron to court to get him to repay her the money she put down on their new truck.
So was the new truck being purchased to try to keep you together?
In my opinion, yes, it was.
Was he trying to buy your affection so you wouldn't leave him?
Yes, ma'am.
How much were you talking about when you talk about the truck?
Well, I estimated, I figured that my part would be like $1,000.
The judge agreed and ordered Ron to repay Valerie $1,000. After they left court, Valerie and Ron sat down and worked out a specific payment plan for him to repay her the $1,000.
I'm not sorry that I married James. I'm just sorry that he turned out the way he did.
No, I'm not sorry I accepted a loan from her. The only thing I'm sorry about is sloppy bookkeeping.
I don't regret anything at this point. I think, you know, a biker is, biker does, whatever. I don't want to be a part of that.
We're glad it's resolved, that it's done.
Now maybe we can have closure.